Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Good Grief Life After Loss. I'm your host, Skylar Jackenthal, and today's episode is a conversation with Linh Luu, who survived a tragic and preventable car crash that took the lives of her boyfriend, Misha Romanenko, and their dog, Keeper. On January 19th in San Francisco, an out-of-control driver in a Tesla struck Lynn's car at nearly 100 miles per hour. The force of the crash killed Misha and Keeper and left Lynn critically injured. The driver was later released pending further investigation and allowed to return to his home state. 7 months after this accident, no one has been held accountable. This is Lynn's story. It's a story about unimaginable loss, but also deep, enduring love. What it means to carry that love forward while finding healing and purpose through advocacy. Since the accident, Lynn has shared her story on TikTok to honor Misha and Keeper, speak out, and connect with others who are grieving. In our conversation, Lynn opens up about those first impossible days, the memories that keep her going, and how she's finding her voice in a world that changed in an instant. Whether you've lost a partner, a pet, or someone you love deeply, I hope this conversation reminds you that your pain is valid, your love is real, and you are not alone. Let's get into it. First off, Lynn, thank you so much for being here. I know, obviously, everything we're going to talk about today is still very fresh and very recent. So I guess we should just start with, how are you doing today?
Today is an emotional day for me, if I'm honest. There's a song that I was listening to while I was walking my dog that was just about who am I without my person, like I'm just kind of like whose hand am I gonna hold when you're gone? And it made me really, really emotional. Because Nisha and I used to do everything together. Um, so it hit like a tender spot, and I was just out in nature, and it was the one place that he loved the most. So I was just basking in the sun and the air, and just trying to remember him and love him and honor him in that moment. But today is a tender day for me. How are you?
Thank you for sharing. I'm doing good today, but I know those moments are always so tough where you're just having like a totally normal day, and then that one song plays or something happens, and all of a sudden it's just immediately takes you back. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's always one song or one like touch. Like this is really weird, but I've I've not been able to like touch my own hands, like intertwine my own hands like this because I'm just so scared that it would remind me the feelings of holding his hands. And so since everything that's happened, it's really hard for me to like hold my own hands. I don't know, it sounds weird.
But it's like those little things that you wouldn't even think of, that like that I wouldn't have thought of that, but like, that makes sense to hear. But that's also heartbreaking to hear at the same time. So I hope with time you're able to get there. But um I will, before this episode starts, I'll have done an introduction of you, but I feel like obviously you can introduce yourself better than I can. So I'd love if you could just start by kind of introducing yourself to the audience. Who are you? Where do you live? What do you do? And then, of course, what, brought you to the podcast.
Yeah. Well, my name is Lynn. I live in San Francisco, and currently I am an IT manager for a company in Silicon Valley. Um, and meeting you was actually a blessing for me that day. But my life entirely changed 7 months ago, and it's not something that I ever thought my life would be like now. But I lost the two souls that mattered the most to me on the night of January 19th in a very sudden and tragic way. And I've been trying to find ways to cope with grief, so much grief and so much loss, but also to honor them as who they were, who they are. And it's really amazing to me how not a lot of people know how to deal with grief, either grievers or those who are next to grievers, right? So I've been divulging in books, podcasts, and meeting people who have gone through grief or are going through grief, because grief never really ends, right? So, um, when I met you and talking to you a little bit, I looked at your podcast, Good Grief, and the first episode touched me in a really, really deep part of my heart where I sympathized. I was just like, this is just not somebody who understand, like they know. And to be able to connect with somebody who know grief, maybe not on your level, maybe not at all, but know grief is so important to anybody who is grieving another person, another thing, another being. It's it's what made me want to continue our connection and to talk more about what the heck is this process and how do we live? Um, yeah.
I'm glad you connected to the podcast. And it's interesting, something that I actually don't know if I've talked about this on an episode before, but throughout my grief journey, but especially in early days, I had a lot of people who would say to me, like, I think about your brother and you and your family every single day, and like you're constantly on my mind. And that never made sense to me. Like, I was just like, of course, he's always on my mind because he was my person, but like to a complete random stranger, that just didn't make sense to understand that someone could sympathize that much and feel such deep pain for someone who, wasn't their person. But honestly, like, I feel like ever since I came across your videos and heard your story, like, I've become that person where I just think about you and Misha and Keeper, what feels like honestly every day, and just like, I don't know. I find myself thinking about your stories so often. So I'm just so excited that we have this opportunity to talk through what your grief journey has been like.
I'm really excited for that.
I would love if you could just start with telling me who Misha and Keeper were to you. Like, tell me about both of them. How did you and Misha meet? How did Keeper come into picture? Just tell me about your relationship.
I love this part. I love talking about them. So I got Keeper when I was 18, and it was very, very funny, but we I was babysitting his brother from the litter, and I was, for sure going to like keep this dog. And then the next moment, the dog was actually given to like another family member. So I'm distraught. And my family went back to the breeder and was just like, are there any other ones? And Keeper at this point is called number 5 because he's the last one of the litter. Is sitting in his crate all the way in the back, just like doesn't want to talk to anybody. And they're like, we'll take that one. It's so crazy that no one wants him. So they brought him home, and I write my uncle a long message of why I am the perfect person for Keeper and I want to keep him and how I was going to feed him and take care of him. And he's like, all right, all right, all right. It's your dog. Okay. And ever since then, we just been inseparable. I mean, like, he was with me through my college life. He was with me through so many moves, through 2 long-term relationships where he's seen me at my happiest, he's seen me at my, saddest, lowest. He just experienced everything with me, and there wasn't Lynn without Keeper. It was just like it kind of rolls up your tongue, right? So that was like my dog, like my little person. I would just go home and be so excited to be with Keeper. I met Misha actually when I didn't expect to meet anyone at all. I had gotten out of a long-term relationship where I was telling myself, like, you know what? This is the time for you and you only. Let's learn about solitude. Let's see what this means. The next day I get like a text or a message on Instagram from a mutual friend. And, I thought he was joking, but he was just like, I found your future husband. And I was like, "Huh? Okay." And I'm playing along and he's like, "No, seriously, like he's this, he's quality and everything." And I'm like, "Okay, all right." Then I get like a video call and it's from this friend and he's like, "Yeah, so like I was telling you, he's this is this here he is." And Nisha picks up the phone. And I was like, "Oh my God, you're real." And he's like, "Yeah, so are you." And this mutual friend is also friends with my aunt and uncle. So this entire time, Nisha was sitting there having drinks with them and like hearing all of these things that they're saying about me, like, oh, how, I'm in the tech scene and of course, like my family, they were just like, yeah, she's great and everything. And he's like, yeah, I just had to find out for myself who's this person that they've been like talking about. And he set a date for us on the following Saturday. And the weirdest thing, Skylar, is that when I saw his face on video, I knew I never met him, but I blurted out like, "Have I seen you before?" Because his energy was just so
Mhm.
familiar. It was like I've known him my whole life. And that was how our first date went. He planned out the whole date, didn't tell me where he was gonna take me. He was just like, "Wear something nice, I'll pick you up." And it was like we've been together for a really long time and he was just picking me up for like our like 100th date. Um and we watched the sunset and some tourist was taking a picture of the Golden Gate Bridge and we were in the picture and it was such a beautiful picture that they approached us and we were just like, can we airdrop you this picture because it's so cute. And ever since then we have been inseparable. There was no second date needed. Like we were just together and we enjoyed each other's company. And at first I would be over and I would be like, I actually have to go home. I have to, take care of Keeper. And Misha was like, who is this Keeper? And he actually was just like, I need to meet this Keeper. And he would always roll his eyes. But as soon as they met, it was like Lynn is in the background. And it was just Misha and Keeper. And I'd never seen Keeper loved another person as much as he loved me. And with Misha, it was like I didn't exist to him. He was just like, where's Misha? Like whenever he sees me, he always like looks like this to just see if Misha was behind me. And soon enough, me and Keeper became me, Keeper, and Misha. And on Saturdays, we'll go to the farmers market in Embarcadero, where the ferry building is. We grab coffee, we'll grab bread. Keeper will get a treat from our favorite dog treat vendor, and it's just beautiful. That was our life, and I loved every second of it. And Misha taught me a lot because he was a lifeguard. He was also an athlete, so a triathlon athlete. And he was in a really bad accident when he was in high school that prevented him from pursuing triathlon professionally, but he took that opportunity to coach. So he was also a swim coach, a running coach, and he loved outdoors, nature things. So he loved rock climbing, zip lining, hiking, surfing. I can go on and on and on about the amazing person that Misha was and is, and always so kind. You will never meet a person on this planet that could say Nisha ever had a sad phase or a bad day around them. It was always good. And he healed so many parts of me that I didn't even know was broken because of how calm he was. And when I get anxious, he would like take me by the hand and he's like, it's okay. It's okay that you have these feelings. You're allowed to have these feelings. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about these feelings. Or like he'll just like walk with me because he knows like taking fresh air is like my favorite thing to do when I'm frustrated. He was so considerate, so empathetic. And it was he was one of those people that, when he sees somebody in need or somebody who has less than he does, instead of giving them a look, he'll befriend them. Instead of asking them, "How can I help you?" or "What can I get for you?" He just really tries to get to know them. Like, "Who are you? I want to know you." And he'll go out of his way to say hi to them the next day or to meet them. And he appreciated life so much. Like every day he wakes up and he's like, "Today is gonna be a great day. Today is gonna be the best day ever." And I started adopting that mindset too. So, and I think that's why I am able to navigate through grief the way that I am because it would be a disservice to him if I were to wake up and not say, today is going to be the best day ever. Even though I don't feel great, it's still going to be a really, really good day. And I just try to remind myself that that's who he was in this life, and that's who I should be to continue his legacy.
Wow. Thank you for sharing all of that. They both sound absolutely amazing. And I also just feel like so honored to have been able to hear all of that. And I feel like I know them now. But they both sound amazing. It sounds like you guys just had the best relationship, the three of you. Like, honestly, as you were talking, I feel like I was just getting full body chills like over and over again. It just sounds like a fairy tale. So, thank you for sharing. Uh, but obviously, you're on this podcast for a reason. So, as we know, there isn't the fairy tale ending that you would think would come with that story. So, would appreciate if you could just kind of set a scene for like what you remember from the day of the accident.
Yeah, I I hate to admit this, but I have to face the truth at one point. The day of the accident was one of the best days for us as a couple. And every day is a great day for us, but that day was an amazing day. We woke up, it was awesome. We banter back and forth. And we knew that we had to go see my family in the evening. And so we just tried to do as many things together as a couple as possible. And we danced around the house with Keeper. And we weren't even supposed to bring Keeper. I wanted to leave him home, but then Misha had already had his leash in his hand, and I couldn't do that to the kids. So I was like, let's just go. It's fine. And we're driving on the same streets that we normally would, like any other day. And Misha always offered to drive because one, he's a good driver, and two, that's just who he was. He's a gentleman. And he called me his passenger princess. So, just we're enjoying the drive and we were just talking about how great life has been. And it was the sunset, and it was one of like the best sunset that I've seen. And we were on the highway and the sunset hit his eyes, and he had beautiful, beautiful blue eyes. So it hit his eyes, and I looked over and I was like, "You're so handsome. I love you." And he said, "I love you too." And then after that, it was like black. I felt as if a train had hit me, and then it was over. And w- when I came to, I was in the hospital, and I thought there was some kind of moments, but I was told otherwise. I was told that I was out the entire time. But I thought that I was conscious at some point during the recovery process where I heard someone say black tag, and I was like, Misha? And I was I was so confused, and it felt like I was holding his hand and it was ripped away from me. And so when I woke up, I was like, "Where's Misha? Where's Keeper?" And my family tried to shield me from the truth. So they were like, "Keeper is with the vet. Misha is at another hospital. We just want to worry, like we just want to care about you right now. Like, we just want to take care of you." And I was like, "Okay." Then something felt really off. Like Misha and I, just like my brother and I have this bond where I'll know when he's hurt and he'll know when I'm hurt. And I have that same bond with Misha. And I couldn't feel him for some reason. Like I tried to think about him and I'm just like, why do I have this weird feeling? Like why do I feel so cold? And um eventually I was just like, give me my phone. It was a crash, right? So it has to be on the news. Give me my phone, and my aunt was very hesitant, but my mom at this point, she was just like, "She's gonna find out either way." So, just give her the phone, and that's when I found out. I remember reading, 7 car crash, 1 fatal, 1 dog died, and my world shattered. I had this internal scream that I felt like broke my soul. Like, I was like, "No, there's no way." But then deep down, I knew, like, I knew that it was true, and I couldn't I couldn't get myself to, like, read the article, and I was just wailing in this hospital, like, I've it was so intense, like, "What do you mean? What do you mean my person is gone? What do you mean Keeper is gone? What do you mean I'm here?" And I I remember the doctor was just like, "We need to get her to the operation," and I was just like, "No, don't save me, just let me go," and I was just like, "Just let me go, like, my life is done. It's done, it's done." And I'd had, like, doctors just, like, sitting next to my bedside, and they're like, "We have to save you, like, it's our job," and I was just like, "No, I don't wanna be saved," and I remember feeling that way for a really long time, but that night, it's just so crazy how, like, the day and night was just so different. You know, you wake up with the love of your life, and then you end the day without them, and it's really it's really bizarre to put into perspective and to even think about. And I really had to thank you for that question because up until today, I wasn't able to fully admit to myself that it was a good day.
Yeah, which I feel like must be so hard to just, like, the comparison of you were having the best possible day, and when you're having those days, it feels like you're invincible and untouchable and nothing can go wrong, and I also read that article that you're referencing, and for me, reading it after you and I had already spoken and after watching your videos and feeling like I know you now, it's like you read those articles in the news all the time, and I feel like there's a sense of detachment, and to, like, picture you having to read that article is just, like, puts a pit in my stomach, so I mean, I feel like there's probably no good way to have to find out that news.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really weird because even like when telling the story and just reminiscing about that day, like I find this lump in my throat, and there's this part of me, the logical part, the human part is like, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. But then there's like the emotional part of me is like, cry, cry if you want to cry. So it's really, really interesting. I'm sure you also experience that on like certain days too.
Yes, definitely the way you tell that story, I feel like also changes day to day or versus who you're telling it to. Like, you can tell with some people, like, "You're not ready for this story, so let's just keep it brief and very surface level." Um
Yeah.
So I wanna kind of shift into the grief journey, which again, it's you're really only a few months into the grief journey, so I'm sure it's already evolved and adapted so much it will continue to change. Um, but can you start by sharing what was your grief journey like those first like initial few days and weeks? How did grief manifest like physically, emotionally? What do you remember from those first few days and weeks?
Um, wow. Yeah. The first 5 days of coming back to the hospital, I lost 15 pounds. Couldn't eat, couldn't keep food down. It's not like I could move, you know. I just gotten out of operations and I was in bed the whole time. Um, my physical pain was like none comparable to like my emotional pain, so I didn't even feel it. I did not need any medication, no ibuprofen, no painkillers, because I genuinely didn't feel the physical pain. All I felt was just in my heart and in my spirit, and it's the hardest thing for me was laying in our bed. I, like, couldn't stop smelling his pillow and looking around the room and wearing his socks, his ridiculous toe socks, and remembering how much I, like, hated it when he would talk about it, but now it's, like, the closest thing that I have to him, and looking around the room and, like, it just felt like all of these memories of us laughing and jumping around and, like, being us just, like, all came together, and it was really, really painful, and I remember thinking, like, "Just want this to, like, be over. I just want this to stop, like, it's too much." It's like it was a quiet room, but it was just so loud.
Yeah.
The silence was loud. The emptiness was loud. His side of the bed, how empty and how cold it was scary, it was terrifying. Um, and I didn't open my blinds for 6 months straight. I just started opening my blinds, like, 2 weeks ago. Because the idea of, like, seeing the view that he once loved It was just too much. Um, and those days of that first week was like hell-bent. It was like back and forth between like, is this real? No, this can't be real. How can this be my life? Holy cow, he's gone. Like, do I really have to say the B word? Like where's keeper? And it was just like so many things. And I looked like a dead person. My grandpa would FaceTime me and he's like, "Oh my God, like I don't recognize you. Like what happened?" And I was like, "I don't know. I don't want to talk about it." I had my best friend slept over with me for the first 2 weeks, and like honestly, God bless her, because I feel like without her I would have had night terrors every day. Um and a lot of crying. A lot of crying, a lot of wailing. Like, I remember sometimes I would cry and it would be, like, inaudible. Like, there would be no tears coming out because I'm, like, running out of tears and my body has stopped producing tears, but, like, I'm crying. Like, there's just no amount of people or words could have made anything better. And I was yeah, it was horrible, and I remember feeling this pull to being more spiritual, like, meditate. Like, there's just this voice in my head, it's like, "Just meditate, just meditate." Misha loved meditating. This guy could have meditated and slowed his heartbeat down so slow, you would have thought that he's dead. Like, that was how good he was at meditating. Always trying to teach me how to meditate, and I never learned. Meditating had never been for me. But that particular day, I was just like, meditate. You have to meditate. And I was just like, fine. And I laid down, closed my eyes, and I remember just like meditating. And I was like, I feel guilty. I feel like if I choose help, I'm choosing me and not you. And I don't want that. And I hear him as if we're having a conversation, and he clearly was just like, you choosing help does not mean that you choose yourself. It means you choose us. So choose us. Don't think about it as choosing you. And I was just like, okay. And at this point, like, Misha could have said anything and I would have been like, okay, yeah. So that's when I started to sign up for like therapy and getting more help and being more honest with myself and posting more videos. Um, but yeah, like those first 5, 6 days was absolute hell. I remember the very day that I found my very, very first smile, and it was May 12th, and it was 7 p.m. And I document this. And I was like, wow, my first time smiling again was in May, the 12th of May. And I was just watching a TV show, and that was it too. I was scared to turn on the TV because that was something that Misha and I did together. So I didn't watch TV for a really long time. I didn't want to read books. That was something that we also did together. I didn't want to listen to our favorite songs. Like, I was just so scared of like being reminded of the love. And that's what it was. I was just trying to shut out the love and just allow the pain in. Because at this point, feeling the pain, I refused to. But feeling that love again, knowing that the person who helped me produce that love isn't here anymore, that would have been twice as painful as anything else.
Yeah. Maybe you're starting to get to this point already, but I feel like I also remember having those moments where, like, the things that started off as very painful memories, or like to do something for the first time without my brother, was just a very surreal, uncomfortable, sad, painful thing. But it is crazy to see how over time, like, those things that once caused so much sadness and had such sad memories eventually become happy, and they make you smile to do them and like remember them in a happy way. So sounds like you're starting to get there, but it takes time.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Something we had talked about when we chatted last was like that journey of living your life again and like starting to live, which I feel like you just started hinting at, like finding your smile again for the first time. But how has it been for you to just start living again? What has that been like?
It's been both very nice and painful at the same time. And it's a different pain. I don't want anyone, to hear me say it's nice and painful and think like it's like the same pain. Grief, and that's the thing about grief is that she's got a whole arsenal of different pains that she can give to you on any given day. And grief does not care if you distract yourself. She'll wait. And for me, the one thing that Misha loved the most was traveling. We had so many plans to travel. And so the first thing that I did when I could was travel to Seattle. And I remember journaling to him and I was like, I'm gonna have the most fun, which I did. Um, and it's gonna be amazing, which it was. But I remember one Thursday I was exploring, Seattle. I went to the Pike's Place Market. Somebody gifted me a bouquet after I was just thinking, how funny would it be if somebody gave me a rose? And I was gifted a bouquet. It was an amazing day. I came back to my hotel room completely shattered. Every being of me just missed him. I was like, dang it, like, why are you not here? And I felt angry. I just felt angry that he wasn't here. I felt angry that I was experiencing that with him. And I felt so weak and I just cried. And and then I got a text from our friends inviting us or inviting me to their wedding of, and that was something that Misha and I had always talked about doing together. So imagine I'm just like wailing. And I can't imagine what my neighbors were thinking that was happening in my room, but it was so painfully lonely. Like, for such a beautiful day, I was just like, dang it. Like, dang it. Why can't you be here? Um, I also hike a lot in honor of him as much as I could because I do have some limitation, but I go with my brother, my friends. We recently went to Lake Tahoe just to be in the lake. It's something that Misha would have loved. And we went with one of his best friends. Um, we just swam in lakes and hiked to this highest part of, a mountain in Tahoe. We stayed in a lodge and we did jacuzzi mainly in honor of him because Misha loved his jacuzzi time. And I'm visiting New York for the first time, which is something that he and I also spoke about. So living to me, all of this, and I tell myself this is like you can travel as much as you want and you can do as many things as you want in honor of your person, whoever this is in your life. But how would they want you to experience these things? Would they want you to just do these things for the sake of doing these things? Or would they actually want you to enjoy it? And then that's when I'm like, fine, I'll enjoy it. And it's really hard to be able to enjoy anything at all for a very long time, if not forever, without the person that's made you whole, whoever it is. And for me, it helps to know that he's not missing out. It helps to know that he is experiencing this through my eyes too. And so it helps me feel less obligated to be like moping and sad and more obligated to be in the moment. Misha was somebody who loved the book The Power of Now. He loved living in the moment because he was always the one that says you can't change the past and you can't predict the future. The only thing you're in control of is now. So he loved the now. And when I'm on these trips and every single day since I'm like, let's be in the now. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I definitely do not know what's going to happen in an hour. I could be a complete mess. But right now, I'm peaceful. Right now, I'm okay. Right now, I'm in Seattle or New York or Tahoe and I'm having ice cream or I'm having frozen yogurt and I see people around me that are happy and right now, I'm happy and it's okay. And to me, that has helped me define what living is, because there's been months where I was only surviving, and being in survival mode, I'm used to that, but that's not living. I I've said this to myself, and I've said this to other people that I've met who are also on their own grief journey. We're only surviving. If this is how you feel, where you like have to wake up and you're like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, or "Oh, I have to go here, I have to go there. Okay, let's just get the day with you're surviving. You're bracing. Living is I get to do this. Okay, let's do this. And it's just I'm not always like this. I am 99% of the time, "Oh, I have to do this." But when that 1% does happen, where I do feel this gratefulness that I get to do certain things, I take full advantage of that, because it's really hard to get that feeling nowadays.
I just absolutely love your both like self-awareness and almost what feels like your mantra of living, like just this beautiful positive outlook, knowing that like most days suck and you don't want to get out of bed and you don't want to go live and do these things that should be fun and that you wish you were doing with Misha. But I love that at least you're continuing to tell yourself you can't just go through every day surviving from 9 to 5. Like you have to find ways to live and to enjoy it. So I love that outlook. But I know grief is just so tricky and it does make it so hard to enjoy those days to the fullest without having them be laced with sadness. But I think that's okay at times. Like I think it's okay to have a little sadness mixed in with the happiness, but feels like you're on your way to getting back to living, which I love to hear. Um Something that I didn't experience myself because I lost my brother when I was in high school is going back to like the reality of the real world and the working world after loss. So I'm curious to hear your perspective, your experience. What was it like having to return to like normal working life after experiencing loss?
Ah, I um I tried to extend my disability leave as much as I could, just so I didn't have to go back to work. And so in California, you're entitled to, or you're covered for 6 months. So I was just like, I'm gonna take advantage of those 6 months, because I was really close with the people that I worked with. And when everything first happened, my manager was the first person that my family called. I'm very close with him. And he's like, why are you worried about work right now? And I was like, I need you to do me a favor and I need you to keep this private. I do not want anyone to know. Well, of course, the next day the CEO sends me like flowers and the EAs. And I was just like, okay, this is too much. And my biggest fear is going back to work, and I haven't been back to my office actually. But my biggest fear is when going back to the office, I see the look, and I know you know the look. I just I'm so scared of getting that look on people's faces. And I've already received some, like, I'm so sorry for what happened through Slack. That I mastered how to handle. I just don't know how I would be able to handle that in person, like on the fly, without time to be like, okay, I can ignore that for a while and come back. So coming back to work, I've had the opportunity to be at home, so I haven't needed to see so many people. But I will be honest, the first day was a good day, and then the second day was absolute mess. I was like crying the whole day, because Misha and I used to work from home together, and he'd be in his office, and I'd be here. And he would be yelling up like, "Hey babe, do you want food? Are you hungry?" And that second day, I was looking out for that, knowing that it isn't gonna come, right? And when it didn't come, I was just like, "What am I doing? What is it that am I doing?" Like, and it was really, really hard. And then I like to have music on while I'm working, and the song Nights Like This by Benson Boone
Mhm.
came on, and I've listened to that song 1,000 times. Don't know why. That specific day, it tore me to shreds. And I was just like, "Holy cow. Like, this is gonna be harder than I thought." And I like to front. I like to front to myself a lot. I'm like, "Yeah, I got it. I'm fine. This is easy work." It was not. It was not. It was very scary. Anticipation of, like, who's gonna say their condolences next, anticipation of, like, who do I have to talk to next, and, like, grief and reality of life, and then being at work. When you've experienced grief, when you've experienced near-death experience or experienced grief in your life, everything else becomes very irrelevant. Like, we're disagreeing about the design of this. Great. I just lost my person. I can't be on the same page as you. I can't have that same passion as you. And there's that disconnect. I do have a great team who's very understanding and somehow amazingly well equipped with my, grief phases. So when they see that, they're just like, "It's okay, and like, you don't have to front in front of us. Like, we're okay." And that's helped me.
Yeah, I think grief has a very funny way of taking things that were once so important, and all of a sudden you're like, I could care less about this job or this project or this conversation or this whatever it is. Like it just puts things into perspective, and it is sometimes hard to then find the motivation to return to school or to work or just to like the real world when it's easier to just stay in my bubble of sadness and to not have to interact with others and not have to think about anything else. So I'd imagine going back to work in general is difficult, and I also very much sympathize with the not wanting to go back to the office piece because people just, no matter how good their intentions are, at least we hope their intentions are good, it never comes out right. Like 95% of the time, I feel like people say things that you're just like, what? Why did you think that was acceptable to say to me or that was helpful? And I'm sure you have had your fair share of those interactions by now.
Yeah. Somebody told me the second day after I got out of the hospital, um, "You'll be fine. You'll find someone else. You have kids. You got to take care of your pelvis because you have kids, right?" And I was just like, "You thought that was okay to say out loud?" I just, I just like, "Thank you. I know you meant well, but sounded really bad." I don't. At that point, I was just like, That's it. I'm gonna live the rest of my life single, alone, sad, mopey, whatever it's gonna. I'm fine. Um, but yeah, I'm sure you've been met with some pretty outlandish things too. And that's what I mean is that our society specifically, aren't equipped with the right tools to handle, grief. Like there's been so many times where I would just wish that somebody actually this happened once where I was uh I was at like this bookstore, and this person had complimented on the book that I was kind of browsing, and I was like in conversation with them. Then they asked about me because they saw that my body was not together. And I told them what happened, and they were just like, "How was he like?" Blew my mind. Like, I would say, "Excuse me?" And they're like, "How was he like? What was he like?" And I was like, cried. I was like, I'm so sorry. I really thought that you were gonna like say something like, 'I'm so sorry for your loss,' or something. I was not prepared for this." But that, like, just trying to get to know the person that the griever is grieving, whew, that changes things. And I just feel like our society should be more open to that, be more open to talk about, those who are no longer here, or the people that we're grieving, because we're grieving them for a reason. We're loving them in a different form. And so instead of saying you're sorry for our loss, it is something about asking about this person is so refreshing without us having to bring it up ourselves, right? Yeah, that experience was profound and life-changing for me. Like, these people exist. Cool people exist.
One of the good ones. Probably a rare interaction to get at this point, but still
Definitely rare.
so meaningful. Um, Speaking of like equipping people with the tools to understand grief and handle grief, TikTok is where I initially came across you and your story. So I'm so curious what prompted you to decide like I want to start sharing this journey and all of my feelings and my grief and all my experiences on TikTok with the world. What prompted that?
Yeah, I so even before this, I used to make funny videos with Misha and post it on TikTok. And I originally didn't want to like make any videos or anything, but at this point, my best friend had already stayed with me for 2 weeks straight. I talked their ears off about like how sad I am. All of my friends had already known how sad I am. And I just felt like a burden. I just felt like I don't want to be the person that talks about how sad she is with my friends all the time. So I was just like, how can I let all of these feelings out? Because I knew if I were to keep it in, I'd explode and I would probably go crazy. Um, and I just had like an idea, like, why don't we just record and just start talking? And I was like, okay. I didn't talk. I just cried in my first video. um, and then I thought about like maybe we should edit this. And there was just this thought in my head. I was like, wait, why do you want to edit this? Like this is raw. Like this is how it is for you. And this is meant to be like your journal, right? Your diary, right? So like just be raw and be real. Like it's not like anybody's gonna see your video. Like it's not like you're like known. Um and so I was like, you know what? Yeah, let's just post it. Then all of a sudden I started like hearing people story and like they comment and they're like, "Oh my god." My first post after the crash was actually a an honor post for Misha and Keeper. Um and it was really hard for me to make. Like the audio that I used was so spot on because at the end of that audio it was like if love could have saved you, you would have lived forever. And that's truly how I feel. Um because there's so much love, not just for me, but like from his family, from his friends. Like if love could have saved him or them both, they would have lived forever. Um, and after that video, I was like, wow, there's a lot of people that understand how this feels. Like either people who empathize or people who are like, I've lost my husband, I've lost my wife, I've lost my child, I've lost my dog. Like I was just like, oh wow, like this is a place that people feel safe to like share these things with. Then the next one I posted was me just like completely losing it. And that journey for me, it felt so safe. I know that TikTok is just like a bunch of people and like a bunch of strangers, and I know that people have different perspective on it than I do, but I just feel like I'm more comfortable sharing with strangers than I am with friends. And maybe it's the thinking of like they don't know me anyways, you know? Then they're probably not gonna come across my page again. Like it's probably just gonna be like a scroll and stop type of thing. So why not? Um and that's why I decided to like post more. And it was also a form of therapy for me. I go to therapy once a week and I just honestly don't think that that's enough. I I love talking my feelings out. It helps me analyze and understand what I'm going through. But then I started meeting people who are also going through like the same journey as me, like somebody who lost their husband, somebody who lost their wife. And I was just like, you know what? If this is going to just help at least just one person feel less alone, it would help me because when I post and I get just one comment where they're like, "Wow, I feel so seen," or "Wow, I empathize with you." I'm like, I feel great. So imagine if my videos however messy, however calm, however it is, can help another person, I was like, that's pretty cool. And then the post that actually got me on people's radar was me calling out, like, the injustice that's happened. And I had never been one to, like, directly speak to TikTok or the public. I actually didn't wanna step on anybody's toes, which is why I said what I said and kept it, very close to, like, my personal experience, but I specifically, like, the words just blurted out of my mouth where I was like, "TikTok, I need your help." And at that moment, I was like, "There's no turning back." Like, this is probably gonna go nowhere, but there's no turning back. And as soon as it was posted, not 24 hours later, I had, like, a million views, and I was like, "Oh, no, what have I done?" But after that, then people started coming back to my page, which is, like, not something that I thought was gonna happen, and I was like, "Oh, wow, okay," like, they see value in me posting about my journey, and that's what's kept me going because it's good for my soul too. I maybe some people think differently, but it's really good for my soul to just being able to, like, relate with other people or know that, there's someone that can feel less alone when they see my videos.
Yeah. I mean, even scrolling through the comments of your videos from, like, more recent videos to older videos, like, it's just so clear to see how many people, one, are, like, sympathizing with your story, but also sharing their own stories and sharing that it's helping them. So I loved seeing those comments. And you just kinda started to touch on how you're also using it to advocate for justice, which was one of the first videos of yours I saw that it's like this accident that took Misha and Keeper was so preventable and, like, should never have happened, did not need to happen. So I'm curious how you're carrying grief with also that sense of injustice and wanting to advocate. How are you carrying those two together?
Honestly, I am not like a saint. There's been so many times where I just wanna, like, go and be a very, very bad person to everybody and just let my anger come out because that's really what it is. I'm angry. I am so angry that what happened happened and how preventable it was. And to even think, like, there was a child involved, like, one of the cars that was in the pileup was a baby. I was angry, not just for myself, but for Misha, for Keeper, for everybody else that was involved, and it was one action of one individual that didn't even live in my city, that had 0 care, and the more I allow myself to, like, think that way, the more my grief intensify in a different phase that I would recognize, which is anger. And my emotional self would, go crazy, then my logical self would be like, "Whoa, you're are you sure you wanna feel this way?" Because at my core, I honestly am just like, I just wanna be happy. And if not happy, I just wanna be at peace. That's all I want. And so when I am out of balance of that, I I don't know how I learned this trick, but my logical self would just be like, "Are you sure you wanna go this route? I mean, you can, but are you sure you wanna be this angry?" Um, and that helps me pull myself back where am I okay? This happened. I cannot change this. I can't change how this person is. I can't change their actions that led up to what happened. How can I make a change so that this doesn't happen to anyone else? And doing that has helped me kind of marry the two, the anger and the grief together. Because whenever I talk about this person, this individual that's caused so much pain, there's nothing but anger. And I I try very hard not to show it. I don't like to show my anger. I don't like to feel angry. So, you know, reminding myself that this feeling, this emotion is not who I am at my core. This is not what I normally am. This is not my normal state. Let's pull it back. Let's talk about the facts and let's see what we could do going forward. And so instead of being angry about something that I can't change or somebody that I can't change, I look into organizations that support, changing certain laws in the city, certain rights in the cities, and talk to certain people that give me updates on what's going on with the investigation, and be a support system for anybody else who's gone through, like accidents like this, because any car accident is so preventable. It's very preventable, and it just shouldn't happen, but it does.
Yeah. If there are people listening right now who like want to get involved, who want to support you and also advocate for Misha and Keeper, like what are ways that other people can get involved or support? Like, is it just sharing your videos? Is it reaching out to lawmakers? Like, what can other people do?
Um, that would make me cry if that does happen. But yes, sharing the video, talking about it. Also, all of this is like public knowledge, so people can like search it up. Um, the person that people would reach out to would be the DA. So messaging the DA or sending in letters to the DA, not rushing them, right? But just to ask for like, what's the update on this? I think when the people who are supposed to protect us in the city know that we want answers, they tend to give answers. I don't think it's their job to give everybody answers, but when asked, they will. I also don't want to antagonize them because they're here to help. But if if anyone were to want to help, it would be spreading the words. It would be reposting my video, um, emailing or mailing our DA in San Francisco asking for an update. But no matter what, please do not. Like, I know that we know where this person live. Please do not try to look for him. Do not try to look for him. Do not do anything. Not for me, not for Misha, not for people, not in our name. Like, I do not want anyone to get any negative impact from trying to help us. So I think the best way to go about this, even though it takes a long time, is to be civil and to go the right route, which is using our, right of speech and our resources and the people who are supposed to protect us to give us information.
Yep. I mean, hopefully this podcast will help spread awareness, but we can also link maybe the email to the DA in the caption. And if people want to help, and I hope people want to help and get involved, then we will make that happen. So thank you for sharing ways to get involved.
No, thank you.
Yes. I want to start moving into the healing part of your grief journey, whether we're there or not. But I'm curious, um, have you found ways now to be able to honor Misha and Keeper? Like, what does that look like? Or how in the future do you hope to continue honoring them?
Yeah, I laugh when you said healing because we talked about this, and I've also talked about this with my therapist and my friends. I joke, and when you've met grief, dark humor is your friend.
Mm-hmm.
I love dark humor. But I used to tell people, and I still tell people, whoever romanticized healing should be jailed because it is not pretty at all. Like, people say like, "Oh, I'm in my healing era," as if it's like beautiful and butterfly. No, it is disastrous. It's messy. It's painful, but it heals at the end after
Mm-hmm.
you figured out the problem and you work through it. Um, how I heal now is, one, cry. Whenever I need to cry, I cry. I was told that crying is a way for your soul to speak when words can't. Um, and when you cry, what you do is you're turning this negative, heavy energy, because we're all just energy in physical form, you're turning this heavy energy into a lighter energy. That's why after babies cry, they're happy. That's why after we cry, we're like, oh, that feels so good because you're alchemizing your energy from heavy to light. So I just cry. I literally wail, cry, sniffle, like however it is. Sometimes I cry and I can't even catch my own breath. But afterwards, it helps. Walks. I love going on like mindless walks. I just don't have a destination. I just walk. And whatever thought that comes in my head, I just let it flow. Or you're like, oh, okay, you're criticizing yourself. Sure. I just don't judge myself for anything that I am thinking about. Because what's the point? This whole walk is meant for me to purge all of these thoughts out. So it's doing what I want it to do. I shouldn't stop it. Um, and singing. I used to love singing, and after the crash, after losing Misha and Cooper, I couldn't sing for a really long time. And I recently found my love for singing again. So I sing in the shower, at home when I'm by myself, just humming, um, and meditating. I For me, meditation is not like this long thing. If I can sit through a meditation for a minute straight, that's a big plus for me because I'm such an overthinker. So if my mind can just quiet down for just 1 minute, that's it. And it's so amazing how great you feel after just 1 minute of stillness and silence. And that helps me heal. It's not pretty. And I have to stress how gross healing is. I don't want people to think that it's like pretty or anything. But afterwards, this blissfulness, this blissful feeling that you get after, no amount of money can reproduce that for you. No amount of experience can produce that for you. And no one can produce that for you. It really has to come from you. You really have to want to. In the future, what I do want to do is just to honor Misha and keep her more is to be more open and have a podcast. We talked about this, but I want to start my own podcast. It's something that Misha and I talked about when he was here. And I want to make it more open. Not just talk about like grief, but also like life, just ranting, but ranting very purposefully so that everybody can hear and relate. And I think there's a lot for me to rant about these days. So that's how I would want to honor him in the future. But for right now, walking, breathing, intentionally breathing, and being aware of my thoughts, my feelings, and not judge myself is is how my healing starts and continues.
I love that. It feels like you are taking all of the right steps to reach healing. So I love that. And I really do hope you start this podcast. I think it's an amazing idea. And like I already said, I will be your first listener. So I'm patiently staying tuned. Um, what would you say to someone who is in those initial days and weeks of grief? Like, what advice would you have for them of how to get through it?
Well, my first thing that I would say to someone who is in their earlier days of their grief journey is everything that you are feeling is okay. It's normal. It's more normal than you think. It may not feel like it is normal, but it totally is. And when these emotion comes out in more ways than just crying, that's okay too. I've thrown my pillows on the floor. That is a perfect way to let out whatever you need to let out. I've screamed. That is also another perfect way to let out things. And there is something that I recently discovered through EMDR therapy, which is EFT tapping. And for me, it really helps. If someone who's listening is an anxious attachment person like me, always in my head. I live in my head. Like it's ridiculous. But EFT tapping, where you tap your temple or the top of your head or below your eyes, and then your neck and then your chest, you just tap in sequence of maybe 3 to 5, and then you move, right? And then you tell yourself, I'm okay. And as these thoughts are like coming in, and it doesn't even have to be about grief. It can just be when like intrusive thoughts comes in that are just negative. I'm okay. I'm in my body. I'm safe. And this is okay. This feeling is okay. And it'll pass because it always does. And when you do this, you're reminding yourself that you are in your body and you're actually okay. Because what anxiety is fear of the unknown, fear of what could happen next that you can't handle, right? So when you do that, you're reminding yourself, okay, you are safe, and this is just your thoughts. This is just your emotions, and you are not your thoughts, and you are not your emotions. You are you, and you control them. But sometimes they control you, and or it feels like that, and that's what EFT is. It's an anchor, and it helps me so much. When I cry, I tap. Like when there's like intense emotion, I'm just like, okay, yeah, this is okay. This is fine. But you are safe, and it helps me feel so grounded. And it's almost kind of like a hug for yourself. Um, so that's what I would advise anybody in any stage of grieving, to try out and give yourself that kind of attention, right? Because that's what it is when you feel anxiety, when you feel sadness, it's like I feel alone, but you remind yourself like you're not alone. You are here with you, and it sounds so cliche. It does, I know, but it's like you are here with you. Like if you think about it, you know? So that's what I would recommend.
I can't wait to learn how to do EFT tapping and try it because I think we all need a little bit of that in our life. So I will keep you updated on how that goes.
Yeah, I would spam you with video. I would just like start sending you videos of EFT tappings because what EFT is, it also helps with manifestation. If you have any listeners that are big on manifesting, EFT tapping has helped me with manifestation so fast. And to anybody who like doesn't believe in like manifestation, we're gonna sound like crazy people to them. But I fully and firmly believe in manifestation. And manifestation does not mean intentional manifestation, manifestation generally. So you can manifest something negatively and you can manifest something intentionally. Doesn't matter. And all of that is just how much you think about something, how intentional, how strong it is, how you go about it. So if you're constantly thinking like, I'm okay, but you're feeling otherwise, it doesn't matter. It's manifestation. So you are okay. Like, and I've manifested, my new promotion at work. I've manifested new opportunities that I'm getting. I've manifested my current dog. And I it's all through EFT tapping. It's like having a really strong anchor, a really good anchor helps too. And you can also manifest money, but that's like a topic for another day because it also works. And I can show you. Just you and I can show you too.
Okay. I'm so down. I'm game. And spam me with all of those videos. Ready. Um, Well, okay. I feel like you have been a wealth of knowledge today. So thank you just for being here, for trusting me and my listeners with your story and the story of Misha and Keeper. I feel like I learned so much about Misha and Keeper. So I just feel very grateful that you trusted me and my audience to share all of that today. I'm so appreciative. And I just want to honor how generous it feels that you came onto the podcast to share your story, to share your insights. So thank you. And before we wrap up, I will open the floor back up to you if there's anything else you want to say or anything we didn't get to talk about. Any last words for my listeners?
Yeah, I feel very grateful and very honored to have met you and to have this opportunity and talk about Nisha and Keeper and the journey. I've told you this before, but I really just want to stress how important the work that you're doing is. Like it may not show like daily, right? But this is something that is going to show later on. I I'm just so honored. I'm very excited for how this podcast will go and will turn out for you. And if there's one thing that I honestly think people can take away from this is be brave, however that looks like for you, because your battles are yours. No one can tell you what you should do and what you should look like and feel like for that matter. Be brave, anyways. Be brave when life is tough and be brave when life is great. You just show up for yourself, be brave, be courageous, and be kind. Even when people aren't, you be kind anyways.
Lynn, thank you so much. This was amazing. I appreciate you, and I cannot wait for my listeners to hear this episode.
I can't wait. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Of course. What a truly amazing and inspiring episode. Lynn, thank you for sharing your heart with us, for trusting us with Misha and Keeper's story, and for showing us what it looks like to grieve openly, honestly, and with so much love. To everyone listening, if Lynn's story moved you, please take a moment to watch and share her videos. Small acts of care can ripple further than we know. If you're walking through grief yourself, I hope this episode reminds you that healing is not linear, your love does not end, and your story matters. You can find more from Lynn on TikTok at Just Lynn. I will also link her page below, the full article about Misha and Keeper, and the email for the San Francisco DA in the show notes. As always, thank you for being here, and I will see you next Thursday for another episode of Good Grief. Until then, take care of your heart and keep holding space for others too. See you next week.